Given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Hey, good afternoon. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Let's see. I've been meaning about calling my mom up here. See if we can get her on the air. I promised her I would never do this.
And dial again, or call your operator to help you.
Oh no! Oh no!
We're sorry. Your call cannot be complete.
They canceled Mom's number. I don't know. All right. Well, Greg, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yeah, Greg.
Yes. Got a call, or got a question for you. Back this last year, my wife left myself and my 3 children, and in July I got papers. She filed for divorce, and she said that she didn't care about the house, the marital assets, or the kids. She just wanted out of the marriage.
Okay.
And I tried to get her to counseling. We went to a pastor a couple of times, and the first time she seemed like she was sorry, but then the second time, no, she didn't want any part to me, and so that was it. So now she's been dragging her heels and trying to stall everything, and just this last week now she has come back to the home. And although she hasn't lived here for almost a year, she broke in the basement window and is living in the basement.
Okay.
Now, as far as I know, the divorce proceedings are still in effect. As far as my lawyer, I had to switch lawyers because now she's filed for primary custody, but the court has denied her that. But now she is back in the home.
Right.
She did this one other time.
Well,
and when back in 2004.
Well, since there's a divorce filed, you could ask for exclusive use of the marital residence.
Well, see, she filed for divorce up in Potter County.
Right.
Because it was cheap up there.
Right.
But now the lawyer has to bring it down to Dauphin County.
Right. So you need to do a transfer it down, then do an exclusive use, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So you have legal remedies.
But here's the thing, it's like she broke the window in. I was scared because, frankly, she's got bipolar, and I don't know what she's going to. When she's on one of her rages, who knows?
Well, but I mean, if she's actually threatened you or done something along those lines, you could get a PFA to exclude her as well. So
right.
So what's your
called the police
question?
anyways, but they said, she has every right to the house because her name is on the title.
It's a marital asset, but you can kick her out. You just need to go to court, my friend.
Yes.
So what's
well,
the question?
The thing is, it takes a couple weeks to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, she is living in the basement.
Right.
But that's going to confuse the divorce settlement.
It's going to confuse all kinds.
Oh, you're reconciled.
Well, no, that's not what that means. If a judge takes facts and makes findings, you're not going to think you're reconciled. So my advice to you is to you have a lawyer working on any of this for you yet?
Yes.
All right, get your lawyer working on it.
He is.
Get it moved, get her kicked out, and go from there.
Okay, well, we're currently trying to bring it down from Potter County to Dauphin County.
Understand. All right, my friend.
But I didn't know if there was anything else I should be doing.
Only if she actually threatens you and makes it PFA worthy, then you could go to PFA court. But otherwise, just get it moved down and get her kicked out. And that's a good lesson for the cheapy divorces, which is they're great to file in other counties because it saves you a couple $100 on the filing fee. But then when everything goes to pot, now you're stuck.
Yeah, you got to get down to your county.
That's right. They're better to file in your home county for precisely this reason. All right, my friend. All right, now see, Shane. I'm gonna try this again. So I got to dial 1. Think she'll pick up? I did. I just didn't want to say the number out loud because we don't have anybody call my mom all the time. She probably won't answer her phone. She doesn't know she's going to be on the air. That's the best part.
You're by far her favorite son.
I don't know about that.
Hello?
Hello, Mom.
Oh, aren't you doing your show?
Yeah, I am. Aren't you listening? If you were listening, you'd know I just called you and you're on the air.
I thought you had called and nothing rang, so kind of was in a quandary. Anyways, I'm working on my income tax.
Oh, we don't want to know about that. What's new and exciting up there in New York? How's the weather?
The weather is freezing rain, snow, rain, whatever your pleasure, that's it.
That's just drizzly and miserable here. Hey, I'm going to take a couple questions, but I wanted to give callers a chance if any of them wanted to ask you a question about anything about me. So you want to hold on here with us for a minute?
Sure.
All right. That's my lovely mother, and she's live on the air. I'm sure she's enjoying this. Good sport. She'll play along. So let's take a couple questions. But somebody wants to call and ask my mom a question. She's also a property assessor, knows all about assessments and those kinds of good things. Chrissy, you're on the air.
Hi, Carl.
Hey, what's going on?
So my son was diagnosed as type 1 diabetic about a week ago.
Okay.
And we spent 4 days in Hershey Medical Center, and he was discharged to home. 2 days, he was given a school note to stay home with me. I went into Carlisle schools on the day his first day home with me, notified I was in a meeting with the principal, the nurse, and his team teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Notified them all of his medical condition. Obviously, it's extremely serious. And they told point they were going to handle it on the school end and keep me updated on a daily basis, either through phone or email, on his sugar and, how many doses of insulin they gave him, et cetera.
Right.
Yesterday, I was in Harrisburg handling some personal business, and I got a phone call at 2:20. The buses run at 2:30. It was the school nurse. She informed me that my son had crashed and passed out during an assembly at one of the middle schools. And they brought him down to the nurse's office, and I guess he was awake but not really knowing where he was.
Right.
They gave him sweet tarts to bring his sugar up, did nothing else. I told them I was on my way. I drove as fast as I possibly could, made it from Harrisburg to Carlisle in 12 minutes, got to the school. They informed me they put him on the bus and sent him home. I then went down to the bus stop, which is far from my house, waited for the bus driver to pull up, asked her if she was even aware of the fact that my son was diabetic. She tells me no, so he could have very well had a seizure on the bus. She had no idea of his condition or what to do. My question is, when I go into the school on Monday, obviously I'm not going to be pleasant. What are my rights?
Well, you have the absolute right to have your child's medical issues taken care of. Obviously, it sounds like they've dropped the ball completely. And if they can't adequately handle his disease, they're going to be responsible ultimately for paying for a placement in a facility or schooling that can handle that. So,
you mean like switching schools, or what do you mean by that?
Well, it depends, but you may end up with an individual education plan because of the health needs, which would allow for a couple different things. One would be just somebody who's his aide, for instance, who stays with him throughout the day to make sure they monitor the blood sugar. So you have a lot of flexibility there. What the schools will be willing to do, what they're going to have to do could be two different things. So my advice for you is, first of all, even though they've treated, obviously, your child terribly and not done what they're supposed to do, don't take it out on them too stridently, because you don't want to end up creating a situation where you're not going to have the ability to work with these people, because unfortunately you're going to be stuck trying to work with them for a while. But if they can't accommodate you to your satisfaction, you will have the right to seek an individual education program and potentially attorney's fees as part of that.
How do I get the reassurance through the school without basically retaining a lawyer to know that everyone that is interacting with my child is aware of his disease?
I think what I would recommend is that you go to school with him for a day or two. And I know you may have to take off of work to do that, but if you did that, you could go into classes, make sure everybody knows and is primed. But unfortunately, nobody's been hurt yet, so there's very few legal remedies on that side of the coin. On the other hand, though, you've got the school on notice, and I think it's important that you work with them. But if they're not going to make you feel well enough, you're going to have to decide to maybe take your child somewhere else. And again, that may become at the school district's expense because the public school district does have to pay for those things if they can't provide the adequate care.
Well, the way Hershey Medical Center explained it to me was that there's like federal laws that protect my son.
Exactly.
And on many different levels because of his diabetic disease. And one of them is the school being very educated and supposed to be following guidelines that are provided by Pennsylvania State. You know, that all these people are notified, but my son's 14. I don't want to go into the school, sit in school with him all day. It's an embarrassment for him.
Right. No, yeah, how cool is that?
Exactly.
I got to go to break, Chrissy, but good luck on that one, okay?
Thanks.
All right, 540-0580. Oh, there's the music. So, Mom, how are you enjoying the show so far?
It's a good show. It is. I enjoy listening to the questions, and people have some very good questions, and I'm glad there's somebody there to help them.
Oh, you're pleasantly surprised then. Chris, you're on with my mom. What's your question?
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
I spoke with you in 2009, and your mom's going to like this. You gave me great advice. I was unfairly laid off, and you told me what to do and how to proceed, and I ended up getting my unemployment, and now I own my own company.
Oh, congratulations. That's cool.
Yeah, and so I'm just driving and heard you on the line. Today's day and age, a lot of times people don't get thanked for what they do. Just wanted to send that out to you. And also, my son just graduated from Rutgers Law, passed the Pennsylvania bar, and was just sworn in and is working on the New Jersey bar.
Very nice. That's a good dual license, too.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have him contact your office.
All right, we'll be looking for it.
Hey, Mrs. Rominger, you raised the...
I think he said something good about me, but it cut out.
Yeah.
You raised a good son. There you go. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right. So anyhow, I was trying to get anybody who wants some questions for my mom. You want to find out, her cookie recipes or the sweet rolls or whatever. Jason, you're on with Carl Rominger and his mother. What's going on?
Hello?
Yeah, Jason. My mom probably will just listen. She won't answer, I don't think.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. I'm walking down the street, a lot of traffic noise. I had a question for you. I'm calling for a relative, actually, so I don't have 100% of the details, but I had a relative that was in a car accident and ended up breaking their nose and got pretty injured. They're currently not at work because of it. They have not gotten signed off from their doctor to go back to work. And they have, I guess, a short-term disability insurance through their work, and they also have insurance coming from the individual that was driving car insurance policy. Right. And their work had told them that if they received the insurance policy through their work, that if the car insurance policy then also paid her short-term work disability, that she would have to pay back her employer for the money that they would give her.
That's correct. You can't double collect, let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I always tell people, get the short-term disability because the other policy doesn't just pay out on a pay-as-you-go. You have to settle at the end.
Okay.
And the short-term disability or long-term disability, as it may be, usually has to recognize the attorney's fee as well. So there's no cost to you because in the double coverage situation, usually they get paid back less the attorney's lien. And as a result, you get money up front because the one problem we have in car accidents a lot of times is people are out of work, they're not making money, and they can't live, 3 months with no income.
Yeah. So it would be worthwhile for her to get an attorney because in the end it would not be costing her anything?
Against the disability insurance generally, right. Now, as for the car policy, obviously I'm going to charge her 25%, for a settlement or the like.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, my friend. All right. So here, Mom, you maybe help with this one. Shar, your son damaged your car? Shar.
Hello?
Hello, Shar.
Yeah. My son, he works in a car wash. He was pulling a customer's vehicle into the bay. He accidentally hit the bay door of the garage.
Okay.
It did damage to the car and to the bay door. The bay door is operational, but there's a dent in it. His boss, the owner of the car wash, is telling my son he's trying to make my son, he's a minor, he's trying to make him pay the deductible for the damages.
My opinion has always been that, generally speaking, the employee works at the pleasure of the employer, and that you're responsible as the employer for any damage that the employee causes, as long as it's not done maliciously or extracurricularly. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
my position would be he doesn't need to pay for it.
So basically, legally, he can't force him to pay it.
I don't think so, and he definitely can't deduct it from his wages.
He cannot.
He should not, right.
Okay. That's what I want to do. Thanks, Carl.
All right, my friend. I thought maybe that would be a one you could help out. Oh, I got a question for you, Mom. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Max.
Hey, Mrs. Rominger, are you there?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I had a quick question for you. I love listening to your son's show. It's a hoot and holler every Saturday. But it's always like, this question's always in the back of my mind. I wanted to know if Carl has any friends growing up, or did he have any friends growing up?
Oh, yeah. He certainly did.
She can't name one, can she?
People from school, people from college. He and his brother were best friends. They did a lot of things together.
Yeah.
And it was always a fun time because my kids, all of them, never said they were bored. They always found things to do and went out and did their thing. And they're, just actually a delight as kids go growing up. I just enjoyed it thoroughly.
I think I'm getting the benefit of the Alzheimer's right now. She can never remember all the bad things I did.
Oh, that's funny. But hey, on a more serious note there, Carl, I got a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Let's just say this is a hypothetical situation. Say, when it comes, I know all the information on the internet's public. Say I bashed a company and their product on like an open discussion board, and that company wanted to take possibly legal ramifications towards me. Would they have to prove like loss of sales or anything to actually do that? Or like how would that work? What would be like a leg they would have to stand on to actually come at me?
If it's true defamation, i.e. untrue statements, then they probably don't have to actually show pecuniary loss, but they may be limited in their damages if they can't. If you impute criminal behavior to them, or something we call the per se ones, then they don't have to show actual damages, and a jury would be entitled to speculate on it.
Right. So, like, what if it's just a full-blown opinion on their product? I mean,
that's you may do that. In other words, if you want to write like that Rominger and Associates is a law firm and they're a bunch of charlatans, and here's my really bad experience I had with them, there's not anything I can do about that. On the other hand, if you say, he pushed me down the stairs on the way out the door, then I'd say, well, that's not true, and that's unfair, and you're imputing criminal behavior, and then I could do something about it. But if it's just like literally like, they were sloppy and they were unprofessional and very opinion. So now,
okay, what about this? What about if it's hearsay from another person that you stated that the facts that might not be 100% true, but there's some truth in them. Does that make sense? Where it's not like you've completely defamed the company, but let's be honest, you have a disdain for the company.
Right.
And you let that be known through other people's stories. But it's nothing like you're not actually saying this happened, but it's people can translate your disgust for that
Yeah,
company.
but you got to be careful, because if it's clear that the average reader would come to a certain conclusion, then they could make an argument that if what you're saying isn't factually true, you can run into danger. On the other hand, think about it this way: my buddy Shane hates McDonald's. My buddy R.J. Harris doesn't like Dunkin' Donuts. Now, the second one, we don't know about the first one, but the second one, we know he loves Dunkin' Donuts, right? Because he talks about it all the time. So that would be an untrue statement. And so not only am I defaming, say, Dunkin' Donuts, but I'm also doing it with a blatant untruth. So On the other hand, if I said, yeah, only guys like R.J. Harris who has no real taste in coffee like Dunkin' Donuts and wouldn't even know a good French press if he saw one, now that's a little different.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of concerned that, well, not concerned, but...
What did you write? What website should we go to see what you're concerned about?
CarlRamager.com. No, seriously, I'm not going to go down that route. However, I feel like, are those hard cases for companies to break through with, or would it even be like worthwhile for them to do that?
No, because here's why. Most of the stuff on the internet, despite the fact that everybody thinks that what they're going to put on the internet is going to become a sensation, right? Mm-hmm. It's so big and so vast that even if something's been seen, like, say, 1 million times, that doesn't mean many people have seen it versus who's out there.
Right. So, another thing, wouldn't be protocol them sending a cease and desist letter to the owner of the website in the first place?
Generally, yes. Yes.
Okay, and if that protocol isn't even admitted, like, will that kind of not be will that not play in their favor?
It would not play in their favor. I agree with that. But I guess what I was just going to try to say to you, though, is this. You don't want to legitimize the criticism necessarily either.
What do you mean?
Meaning the company may not want to have anything to do with it or even bring it up, because why publicize the fact that there's a bad review on the internet somewhere or somebody said something bad about you? So coming after you or calling attention to it legitimizes it sometimes. So, the first thing you're going to do is, hey, guess what? Company Acme Widgets is after me because I told the truth about them, right? Mm-hmm. So whereas if they just let your little blog sit out there quietly that only like me and 3 other guys read,
right?
Then who cares?
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, Max.
All right. Thank you much.
Thank you. So, Mom, I better let you go. I'm sure you've got cookies to bake, and
yeah, I do. I've got receipts to add up. So I will. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's our pleasure. Maybe we'll get you on again sometime. I was telling you, we had a reassessment in Lebanon County out here recently, where it got all messed up, and there were lots of property values all over the place. I should have brought you on for that. You could have really talked to these guys.
Well, in generalities, probably I could have.
Yeah, I know. You're in another state. We got it.
Yeah.
All right. Love you, Mom.
Well, have a good afternoon. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Got to go to break. All right. We're back. 540-0580, answering your questions. Shirley, you're a little late. I had to let my mom go bake cookies.
I know, but I still want to ask you the same question.
Oh, no.
No, I thought I heard your mother say that she lives in New York.
She lives up near Buffalo on Lake Erie.
Okay, now here's my question. I'm also a mother of grown children.
Okay.
And they personally wouldn't like it if I moved a great distance away, although I wouldn't mind doing it. Now, on either side of your family, I mean, you kids or her, are you disappointed that you have so much time between you,
Well, no, I like to stay as far away from her as possible as a general rule. But in a way, I'll tell you though, it's funny because I'm about 6 hours away, give or take.
Right.
And if I have my son along with me, call it 7 because little kid's in the car,
Right.
But and it's 4.5 at night when I'm breaking the law, going really, really fast. But I don't do that too much anymore. You get older, you get
you behave
better. On the other hand, my younger brother lives in Meadville, so he's about 80 miles away, and my older brother lives right outside of Buffalo, about 40 miles away. So, interestingly, though, over the years, because of whatever's going on in somebody's life, the amount of interaction my poor mother's had with each of the 3 boys varies, So she had told me at one point a number of years back that even though I lived the farthest away, she saw me the most. On the other hand, these days I know that my brothers are very active with my mother, doing lots of things, so I feel a little better about that. So, no, the serious answer is I would like to be a little closer sometimes just because I would like to take her out for dinner or do some things with her.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you all start out from being from New York?
We did. We all lived. Actually, she still lives in the same house that she raised us in.
Okay, well, now here's one more question.
Yeah.
But now that you have a son, wouldn't you like him to have a more close relationship with your mother?
Well, the problem with my mother is she's not good with kids. I mean, no, actually, I'm teasing.
No, but I'll tell you what we do. We use Skype.
Well, yeah, and actually, my mom's computer literate and could do that. Now, I'll tell you, though, my grandmother, who I was very close with from my father's side, had moved to Florida back. She was 80 when she decided she was going to move to Fort Myers on her own. And,
Wow.
And she lasted 6 years before she passed away. So for a few years there, I would go down and visit her. And actually, I was a little sad when she moved because she lived in Buffalo, and I thought I won't be able to see her as much. But what I found out is that, you know, a nice plane ticket to Florida and then stay with Grandma for a few days is pretty nice because the fishing's good and there's some sun and occasionally a girl at the beach, you know, all those kind of things.
Well, that's great, Carl. You make me feel a little better. I'm not going to feel bad if I'm not that close.
Well, listen. Here's the answer. They need to A, adjust, and B, you know, you shouldn't be chained to one spot. In the modern era, it's not impossible to get around.
That's right. I have a life to live.
Exactly.
Hey, thanks, Carl.
All right, Shirley. Thank you.
Bye.
540-0580. Jeremy, you're on the air. Hey, Jeremy.
Hi, Carl. Hi, Carl.
What's going on?
Want to see if you could give me some feedback on a situation that happened last weekend.
Yeah.
I was cited for public drunkenness.
Okay.
And I was caught on camera. The cops treated me rather, I thought, harshly. I mean, I'd never been arrested before, so I don't know what the definition of harsh is.
You obviously weren't so drunk you can't remember.
Right. But I thought the drama was there. And first, one thing they did that really caught me off guard was they rooted through my pockets without consent.
Mm-hmm.
They cuffed me, put me in a car, all the 9 yards, cited me, took me back to my place.
Right.
So I was given a citation. I paid a few days later, paid the fine, and I spoke to one of the officers a couple days later, and she told me that, you know, this is really nothing to worry about. This is the equivalent of a traffic violation.
Correct.
That this is nothing that's really going to follow you or haunt you the rest of your life. And I'm just calling you to reassure that.
I mean, someday an employer or somebody could find it on the internet and see you had a public drunk, and that might suggest alcohol issues, etc. Good news is after 5 years, you can expunge it these days. The governor, not the current governor, but a couple of governors ago, Rendell signed a bill that allows us to expunge summaries after 5 years. So it won't be there for life if you want to get rid of it. But going through your pockets, by the way, we call public drunk. The shorthand for it is PD, public drunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what the police officers will say is, you know, I got a PD. And because you're allowed to arrest, it's one of the few summaries you can arrest for. That and a violent, disorderly conduct. You can actually
I wasn't arrested, though.
Well, no, but you were taken in physical custody.
Okay.
And if they can take you into physical custody, then they get to go through your pockets because they may search you incident to the arrest. And that's why they searched your pockets, because a PD is a free pass for the police to get into your pockets. You know what they're looking for, right? They're looking for the marijuana pipe.
Right, or a weapon.
Or the violent cocaine, or a weapon. But what they do is, in other words, a public drunk is a free pass for a police officer to potentially generate a bigger case because he or she gets to search you in a way that they couldn't otherwise. So that's, were you belligerent with them or anything, or no?
No.
Yeah, and you just felt they were a little harsh with you.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah,
actually,
go ahead.
Okay. A few days later, the day later, I went to the property where I was caught, and I apologized to the owner of the property.
That's cool.
And he even went so far as to call the police officer and say, you know, give this kid a break, and, you know, they wouldn't budge.
Right. And so how'd you end up there? Were you just drinking there, or were you just wandering around the streets, or what were you doing?
I was in a back alley, and I was urinating.
Okay. Yeah, that happens. Everybody's done that, I think.
Right.
Most of it just didn't get caught.
So, I mean, long story short, will I still be able to get jobs and all the 9 yards?
You should be fine. Listen, I mean, what's the defense? The defense is going to be what? He really wasn't drunk. He really was, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those charges that's hard to defend if the police officers want to make an opinion that you were. Now, I did win one time, though, because they testified that my client came to the high school wrestling match intoxicated, which is true. He had a few whiskeys before he went to his kid's match, you know. And he wasn't driving. That's important here. So he and the wife come walking in. You know, he's a little in the bag. And they there's a police officer there, and they just arrest him. They say he's intoxicated. And I took a hearing on it, and the judge acquitted him. And the judge acquitted him because, she said, there's evidence of intoxication, not drunkenness. And there's a difference between drunkenness and intoxication. Intoxication just means you're under the influence of alcohol. Drunkenness has a specific definition, which is it's a kind of, the kind of drunk, the kind of, so you're a drinker, obviously. So am I, right? Yeah. We all have had a few drinks. You've got friends that drink that become, fall down kind of, they're swaying, and they're loud and they're boisterous and they're, wandering into roads. That's a drunk. A person who's intoxicated could just be sitting in a chair behaving themselves and very carefully not saying anything lest anybody realize they may be slurring their words a little. So on that definitional difference, I did get the guy acquitted. So I guess you do have some potential defenses, but they could have also nabbed you for a public urination charge as well. So I probably, 6 of one, half dozen of another, right?
Right.
So I think you'd be fine, but my advice would be put it on your tickler. 5 years from now, you can get it removed.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, Carl.
All right. 540-0580. Eric, you're on the air. What's going on, Eric?
Yes, I actually have a child support hearing coming up.
Okay.
And my ex-wife had, in our child support, said I had to pay for child care.
Right.
For 2 years, she actually did not have the kids in child care, but she was collecting the support payments that said it was for child care. How far can you go back?
When did you find out?
Just recently, when we went to domestic relations.
Yeah, then what you're going to do is ask to go retroactive because she's supposed to update.
So how far back can it go to when the kids?
You can go back to when the fraud when she failed to update. We can go back all the way. Now, whether the court will do that or not, what I'm trying to say is the power. Generally, we only go back to the filing of the petition. Okay, but if there was fraud, somebody failed to disclose something that they were affirmatively required to, which everybody in a domestic relations order is required to do. Then you can go back to the time of, so the one that comes up quite frequently is you get a $2 an hour raise, you don't tell domestic relations, you don't tell your ex, a year and a half later we find out you got a $2 an hour raise. We can ask to go retroactive to when you got the raise. In your case, we'll go retroactive to when she stopped paying for something she claimed she needed every month.
Okay.
And what we would argue is that you're owed an adjustment on that. So we would go back and recalculate the support retroactively without that for that period. And then see what the change payments are, and then that's how far ahead you should be.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, good luck. I got to go to break. 540-0580. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here. 540-0580. Matt, you're on the air. What's going on, man?
How you doing, Carl? I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Say I have my license to carry, and I'm at home. I have a drink or two, and my daughter calls and saying I need to pick her up. I'm not legally drunk or anything, or over the limit, but could I get in trouble if I'm carrying my weapon?
Yeah, if you're carrying a weapon intoxicated, then yes. But if you have 2 beers in you, does that mean you can't shoot the weapon? I mean, that's a personal call. I can tell you, if I have a beer with lunch, I don't think that disqualifies me from going back out hunting for the afternoon. Notice I said a beer with lunch. I didn't say 3 beers or 4 beers or 7 beers.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Does it go along with the same as if you were, get a DWI or something like that? Is it the same numbers they use? Or
impairment, sometimes people say impairment begins with the first drink, but the reality is impairment is a measurement. And so if you're if you have 1 Coors Light in you, we all know you can drive, and there's no reason why you can't carry a firearm. Now, the problem becomes when you go out there and then there's some close call, right?
Right.
Also, one thing that alcohol is known to do, and when I say known to do, is smaller amounts of alcohol are known to, before they interfere with your coordination, interfere with your judgment and cause you to get in an accident.
Right.
So I just had a guy the other day tell me, I thought I could make that turn, and I was wrong, and then I got hit. I kind of was thinking he had a low BAC, but it was still illegal over the legal limit. And I remember thinking, that reminds me of what my toxicologist said. He probably could drive fine, but his judgment was a little, off. So you want to be careful. My advice would be, if you can send your wife, just train her to go pick up the kid with the gun.
Okay.
All right?
That's what I wasn't sure of.
Yeah.
One other question about that. If you go to a restaurant, you're carrying it, and it has a bar in the restaurant, are you allowed to carry there?
Yeah, I'm not unaware of any prohibition along those lines.
Okay. That was another one of those rumors that are always going around.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Take care. Yeah, I've heard that before, too. You can't take it in a bar. I'm not unaware of any law that says I can't carry my concealed handgun in a bar. And I think the Applebee's is a bar, too. But some people think the Applebee's is a family restaurant. And that's called branding, folks. Yes, we make most of our money selling booze. And when a township, if you try to open up, Shane's Saloon in Carlisle and you want to move a liquor license in, they look at you like you're crazy. But if you say, I want to open an Applebee's, then you're a family-friendly restaurant, and they'll move your liquor license in like that. And, it's just all about perception. But they're both bars at the end of the day. Joan, you're on with Carl Rominger.
Hi, Carl. I like your analogy with the Dunkin' Donuts because my radio runs on RJ. Okay? Say, I was looking at some notes lately when I first started hearing you about 2 years ago, and something about your hobbies, and I thought it said trapping, and I thought, then when I realized you were an attorney, yes. I thought, well, he means entrapment.
Oh no, I'm a member of the Pennsylvania Trappers Association.
Well, entrapment is something that you often use to your advantage. I'm sure you would be skilled in that. Entrapment. Okay.
All right.
Right. Say why I called. I have a friend who has a tree, which is tall. It's a conifer, and these things are known to. The roots in mature trees, sometimes they get on top of the grass.
Right.
They grow across the ground. I think it's attractive. It's not the best to be walking on. But anyway, this guy next to her, he has a driveway on the other side of his house, but he wants to put a driveway there so he can wheel around his big mower and something else from some shed or something he has back there. And he's determined to do this. They haven't discussed it, but this guy's wife is hinting to my friend that she better start thinking about her tree, okay? Right. Now, the tree doesn't know anything about this, but here we are with the roots are encroaching onto what is strictly his property line. Now, if he's determined to put this driveway because he does things so thorough, then we know that he's going to start hacking out those roots that are on the top there.
Right.
So after I hear from you, I can tell my friend what you said, but also she may have to go to a tree surgeon or something to find. I said, why can't we dump lots of topsoil, and then he can pour his stones and concrete and
right.
stuff. And what's going to happen here? Does she have to take down her tree? He already went to the township, which said he doesn't need a permit. He can go ahead and do this.
Right. So let me tell you, I actually did a panel today at the garden show. So I was there this morning with Bob Carey.
Really?
And we were talking about this very issue, which is the tree roots impose onto your property or somebody else's property.
Yeah.
And knocking out the tree root may or may not kill the tree.
It may or may not. Go on.
And if it does kill the tree, you probably are responsible for killing the tree. And if the tree dies...
like that. What now? That guy would be responsible if the tree died.
Right, but here's the issue. The then question becomes, as Bob said, though, he said the problem is a lot of times the tree is going to be fairly healthy and maybe you don't take enough root off of it, but then if a drought comes or it's a tough year the year after.
Yeah.
So he's like, a tree may die within a few years, but then it's a combination maybe of root damage or an infection that came in through the root. So it would behoove everybody, if there's a real issue, to kind of maybe have a tree person look it over. But it sounds like the neighbor doesn't care, right?
My neighbor cares. She loves the tree and wants to keep it.
Okay, but the other guy doesn't care.
Oh, he's determined. He only cares about one thing.
Right. Well, maybe you're able to approach him and say, listen, we know you want to put your driveway in. All we're going to ask is that you let our tree guy consult to make it the best way possible for the tree. But he could be held liable, and that
Is that right? Well, as long as he knows that on the front end, he might. I don't know what he's going to do. He might be less determined, but then I guess the chips, excuse the expression, are going to fall. However, right?
Right, because we don't know what will happen to the tree, and of course, the more time that goes by,
the tree doesn't even know.
Right, and the more time that goes by, the less likely it is that the root problem was the root cause of the problem.
Yes, the root cause.
All right.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
540-0580. I love that people are taking notes. Don, you're on the air.
I appreciate your time, Carl. I had a question for you, a tax question. It's an IRS matter.
CPA. Don, that's the answer on this show. Whenever we have a tax question, I know it's tax season.
Well,
lawyers don't give tax advice.
Oh, okay.
So, CPA. All right, brother.
Okay, thank you.
540-058. That's why they have CPAs, people. Larry, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yep.
Hey, going skiing, or not skiing tonight, tubing.
All right.
I had to sign waivers for everybody in the family.
Yep.
How legit are those waivers?
Those waivers will certainly help defend it when your kid goes flying off into the great blue yonder. It will certainly help them. And because, think about it, is you don't have to go tubing, right?
Right.
You chose to go, but they just want to make sure that you understand that we'll let you tube here, but we want some extra protection than normal. And so those waivers are generally going to be pretty powerful.
Okay.
Generally. Now, interesting thing is they may not protect against some things. So, there's a case in law school they talk about where, somebody went running, and while they were running, they tripped on a rock that was in the road in the race course. And, of course, the question became, did the waiver include that or not, okay?
Okay.
And I think they said, well, it was a small rock, piece of debris. Had it been bigger, maybe the waiver wouldn't be adequate, but the waiver in that case was adequate. But in another case, somebody went skydiving, right? And they signed releases, and they went up, and the plane crashed before they could jump out of the plane.
Okay.
And they all died. And the executors for the estate say, hey, well, my kid died in this airplane, and I want to sue. And the company says, well, they signed waivers. And the courts went ahead and said, well, they signed waivers for the hazards of skydiving. They didn't consent for the plane to crash. So those waivers, while powerful, are not absolute.
Okay.
All right.
I was just curious.
Enjoy.
All right.
All right, man. Joe, you're on with Carl Rominger. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, how are you, sir?
Good.
Good. Hey, I have a question about adoption.
Yes.
I just recently married my wife 2 years ago. She had a child to our previous marriage. He has not been involved in our life in the last 6 years, and we want to pursue an adoption. How do we go about doing that?
What we would do a step-parent adoption, and we would just need to file to terminate his rights. And if we can find him, great. If we can't, we can't. There's whole procedures for that. If he shows up at the last minute, he has a chance to be heard. That doesn't mean that you can't adopt. He just has a chance to be heard. But, yeah, it's a fairly uncomplicated process with a step-parent adoption. We do it in my office.
Okay, and what is the normal cost of that?
You're looking at between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on how much ancillary stuff there is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, Joe. RomingerLaw.com is where you can find us, ROMINGER law.com, or the office number remains 241-6070, 241-6070. Give us a call. See you next week.